you told me you got caught up in the tear gas as well. Describe what happened to you.
Oh, just tasted a little tear gas. Tasted like fascism.
Go on then, Ava. Set us up. What's been happening in America?
Well, it all erupted just before the weekend and over the weekend because there were rumours swirling that a number of arrests were being made at a Home Depot in LA. That day labourers who are undocumented or who are being paid in cash were being rounded up in front of this Home Depot. Well, actually, it began originally on a raid, but why are you looking at me like that?
Well, I was judging whether or not I should wonder out loud why we don't have undocumented migrants hanging around outside B&Q. It feels quite American and English, but then I thought, no, I won't do it. That's why I look like that, because I was kind of weighing it up.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry.
I thought you were getting annoyed by the fact
said
that I didn't bring up that there had been a raid on a business
No,
before that.
no,
and then
not
they
at
began
all.
hauling them in front of the Home Depot, and then they were being arrested, and the rumours started swirling. And then it sort of calmed down by sort of late Saturday. But Trump had called in the National Guard on the Friday to arrive on Sunday. And when the National Guard arrived yesterday, tensions re-escalated.
Mm.
So it was the first time in 60 years that the National Guard has been deployed in Los Angeles without the consent of the governor or the local mayor.
Yeah, because typically in America, the governor asks the president to deploy them. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And so it's not since the civil rights movement that that's been done.
Yeah, I think, was it Alabama, segregation in the university?
Yes. What was it
JFK.
called?
I think JFK did it. I think LBJ did it as well to protect a civil rights movement.
Was it?
It was about 60 years ago.
Board of Education.
Yeah. Was that Alabama or Arkansas?
States' rights either way, isn't it?
Isn't it called
It's funny.
Little something?
Newsom now.
Little Rock.
Little Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Newsom now is doing the whole states' rights thing and being like, keep your federal government away from my city. But
And
it's like,
podcasting.
yeah. I cannot wait for his podcast to drop. Post this. Yeah.
Who's?
Gavin Newsom. Have you heard his podcast at all? It's quite good.
He interviews like Steve Bannon.
Well, so at the beginning he was interviewing Steve Bannon, and I was like, oh, this is good. This is like,
love Steve Bannon.
Democrat establishment interviewing the sort of, the persona non grata of.
That's why you interviewed Ian Dale.
That's exactly why I interviewed Ian Dale, yeah. Godfather of the British MAGA movement. No, he had like Bannon, Charlie Kirk, very much like sort of.
Charlie Kirk, very clever man. I watched him at the Cambridge Union. I thought, wow, goodness me, what a clever man.
Do you know what?
His arse handed to him.
Yeah.
You know the guy.
Over and over and over.
You know the guy with the sort of ginger hair that gets into him. When I was at the Cambridge, I had dinner with him.
Did you?
I did, and like he was a very, very smart bloke. And I sort of thought to myself, there's a moment in you. Do you know what I mean? And we've discovered what it was. It was handing Charlie Kirk's ass to him. Yeah, that's it.
He really did, didn't he? He was like, when he kept asking, like, do you know what's going on in Africa? Sudan? Yeah, next. And like, reeling it, like, next. It's like Charlie Kirk had never spoken to someone with an IQ higher than 70 before, and was quite taken aback by it.
I don't know if you've seen, because he kind of does these campus tours in America where it's like, come one, come all, and he's like up on a stage and there's a microphone and people walk up to it and like have arguments with him. But obviously the people that are the sort of the regular people that are doing that are just angry. They're just like, they're animated by him and they want to scream and shout at him. And so with a low camera angle looking up at him on stage, it's very easy for him to look sort of like in control and intelligent. But obviously the debaters of the Cambridge Union have like a degree of intelligence.
Practice.
And a lot of practice and
They're also,
look, I wouldn't choose to spend my free time doing that, but some people do. And as a result, they're quite good at it.
If you know who Charlie Kirk is in the UK, you know your stuff.
Yeah.
Like you have a better base level of knowledge than someone who knows who Charlie Kirk is in the US.
There was a girl that just basically she had like pre-planned lines and she just kept reeling them off back to him. And what was funny about that was like, he's obviously so predictable. You can just literally write out a script. And like,
it's so funny.
she's like, I'll say this, he'll bring up trans. Therefore I can say that. It's just crazy.
Her Charlie Kirk flowchart for the debate.
Should we get back to LA?
Yes. Well, so anyway, Newsom has this podcast and he interviews these guys, and I thought, this is quite interesting because, as probably possibly the most high profile, if not certainly one of the Democrats in the country, elected officials, to be interviewing and having discourse with these guys is quite interesting. Anyway, he started doing like regular senators, etc. And so I lost a little bit of interest. But he will no doubt podcast about all of this happening. And it's very interesting because you're sort of getting, there's been this tension and escalating war of words between him and Trump. Trump calls him new scum. I don't know how I feel about that as a nickname. I think
it doesn't quite work.
I don't think it's one of his better ones. But nonetheless, anyway. So he's been talking about withholding federal funds from California. Newsom escalates and says, well, maybe we won't pay our tax dollars to the federal government. California being a net contributor to the federal government, paying more in taxes than it draws down in funding. And now you have this flashpoint over these protests and riots where very much the view of local law enforcement, Governor Newsom and California state government is that they were able to control and manage order in the state of California, that things were peaceful until what they believe is sort of an escalation by the federal government. LA being a sanctuary city, so therefore, they don't collaborate with federal immigration officials, ICE coming and doing these raids. They very much feel that the inflammatory force here is the federal government, and that the protests were peaceful until federal law enforcement was deployed.
Well, it is sort of crazy, isn't it? There was like a couple of hundred people who were protesting, chanting, or and there were one or two people who threw a brick at a police officer.
A few burning cars.
No, this is before.
Oh, okay.
Talking about before. And then Trump sent in 2,000 of the National Guard.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an escalation. The burning cars was only Also, did you hear Trump saying how he was like, he's thanking the National Guard for bringing back law and order in California, and they hadn't arrived yet.
Preemptively.
They were still in transit.
But it's still just so opportunistic because it's so heavy-handed. You do not obviously need the National Guards to handle 200 protesters unless you think 200 Latinx people are so threat.
That's why they're protesting. they're fucking sick to the back teeth of being called Latinx.
I'm sticking with it. We're woke again. Woke's back.
Woke is back. Woke is back.
But there was like crazy things like Hollywood Pride was still going on. So while this was all happening, Hugh Jackman was headlining Pride.
Hugh Jackman was headlining Pride.
Yeah.
What does he sing?
I think he does like a great.
Hugh Jackman sing.
I think it's like The Greatest Showman. I think that's what he does.
Have you not seen him as Curly in Oklahoma?
He is the greatest showman, or what? Yeah. Do you mean?
No, I think he sings like songs from musicals.
He's
as I understand it.
What, are we not across Hugh Jackman? Come on. Okay.
It was revealing on Friday, Ed, when the Joe Pub quiz landed, and I said to everyone, not out of 5 on the musicals, or maybe I got 1. I think I got the Les Mis one.
Yeah.
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5 on that pub quiz round for you. Yeah.
Love musicals.
A real student of the arts.
Absolutely.
I never gelled with Les Mis. I read the book. I loved it.
That's mental. To love the book.
Never gelled with the
3,000 pages long.
I say I don't like a song.
You hate music. You hate joy. Well, Les Mis isn't joyful, I guess.
Les Mis is, I think,
an abridged version because it was not 3,000.
No, I made it up. I was being hyperbolic. I think it is super long, though.
I think Les Mis, I think, is the only musical I can tolerate. But I agree with you. Otherwise, like La La Land, for example, like just show me the film. Do you know what I mean? When they break, it's like, well, this is stupid.
It's not.
This is silly. This is. I can't suspend my disbelief.
That's the problem. So, do you think that when you see Superman fly?
No.
Yes.
Right. You've got a problem with your imagination. I think you need to be more generous.
No, I like some things. I like imagining that a woman was allowed to write a book during the 19th century.
They were. They wrote tons.
Only the wealthy ones.
Okay. But the rest of them couldn't read either.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Ed.
No, it was a problem for the men too.
No, it's not. What do you mean? You all went to school.
Well, they couldn't read, probably.